High Moon Studios stunned us all with the release of Transformers War of Cybertron a few years back. Until that point, the idea of a good Transformers game was pretty much laughable. I mean, after all, we do know how those comic book video game movies usually always turn out to be absolute shit, yet somehow High Moon Studios managed to pull it off, blending an excellent reimagining of the Transformers backstory, a great deal of love for the original franchise, and a solid third-person shooting mechanics and the ability to transform into a robot, to a helicopter, to a ship, to a dinosaur, and goddamn just roll right out. Fall of Cybertron continues right where the previous game left off, with the very world of the Transformers damaged to the point of failure and its supplies of energon and the precious lifeblood of their race running out. These are the final days and the last remaining of the Autobots under the command of Optimus Prime, and they're preparing evacuation. And of course, we all know that Megatron and his Decepticons are hardly charitable enough to actually stand back and let them go away, so with the planet falling apart, both sides running on empty, and in this case the Decepticons trying to destroy the Autobots once and for all. The stage is set for a dramatic climax, but overall this game is a much darker sort of tale than its previous predecessor, with the threat of extinction looming overhead of the Autobots. It's an impressive melodramatic story, one that conveys the desperation of the Autobots and the endless malice of the Decepticons. Of course, this as being the end game of their long war means that the action is more intense than ever, with a large-scale battle and the summoning of giant-sized robots. The story of the Fall of Cybertron is a redesigned campaign mode, one that now limits you to one specific character. While this may make some fans upset, unlike the previous games who enjoyed being able to pick 3 characters per stage, this leads to a more personalized storyline and specially designed stage tailored to that one of the character. For example, you get to play as the ever-funky Jazz. Jazz comes along with special grappling hook abilities, which allows him to zip around from platform to platform. Accordingly, his specific stage has pitfalls and platforms littered all over the place, resulting in exciting moments where you're darting from platform to platform, taking out snipers. Similarly, Grimlock's stage has him ramping about in general, wrecking the day and unfortunate Decepticons on his way, hacking with his gigantic sword and transforming into a fire-breathing Tyrannosaurus Rex for good measure. His stage is all about smashing and blowing things up. Now, over the course of 13 missions, players will change the character's size, some even in the same mission. With the freedom of choice and, more importantly, the co-op gameplay has been removed, and the storytelling over the previous game has largely been improved as a result of their new design for the campaign, although the constant jumping can get a bit annoying. In terms of Fall of Cybertron's gameplay, it's a lot like the previous game. It's a run-and-gun third-person shooter with special powers and the ability to become some kind of awesome vehicle, or in one particular fantastic case, you can even become a dinosaur mentioned earlier. Shifting between robot and vehicle modes adds the interesting dimension to your standard shooter, plus transforming into a helicopter, soaring through the air, bombing a bunch of enemies when they have you pinned down is pretty damn satisfying to me. The new gameplay features includes attack items like grenades, proximity mines, or floating attack drones, and defensive items like energy shields or power generators. These are all mapped on the keyboard and easily accessible depending on what you're playing the game on, whether it's an Xbox 360 or PC. A lot more variety in this gameplay. For example, Optimus Prime has airstrike ability in large-scale battles. Cliff Jumper has a cloaking and he has stealth missions where you have to sneak up on characters and take them out, and these are pretty good, but some of the characters are a little bit flat. For example, Grimlock, for instance, wields no firearms. He gets close and hacks or bites his foes to death, or he can just breathe fire and throw things, but his focus is mainly on melee. When it comes to Fall of Cybertron's game presentation, I thought it was pretty good. The art direction is fantastic as ever, and graphically it's an improvement from the last game, featuring more varied environments than before, with ancient ruins blanketed with rust storms and creepy tunnels filled with insectoid robots. These are a welcome change of pace from the endless bland cities of the corridors from the previous game, War of Cybertron. If you're playing on consoles, however, the frame rate occasionally drops, but thankfully it's not a big issue because I was on PC. For sound, the voice acting is classic Transformers, which is to say, delightfully cheesy, of course. Optimus Prime is ever the wise and his noble leader. Megatron is the vicious, melodramatic. Jazz sounds like an African-American, and Starscream is the treacherous narcissist, and Soundwave is the superior, and Autobots are automatically looked upon as inferior. The music is decent action movie stuff and often becomes highly dramatic. The final battle is a pure example of the background with its orchestrated score and the ominous chanting that added the ambience. Overall, I thought Fall of Cybertron is a worthy sequel and a good game. while the removal of co-op is rather unwelcome, and some of the slight missteps when it comes to the campaign in terms of character, Fall of Cybertron is a solid shooter with an engaging story, but most excitingly a campaign mode, and it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely recommend it. Overall, I would rate this game a 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching.
The vortex is